And finally, after a little delay, we are back with a Redline Restoration video. This particular video is going to be focused on the Hot Heap. And unfortunately, this very common casting has given me a little bit of trouble. I originally ordered one on eBay approximately 2 to 3 months ago, and it never arrived. So I had to reorder. But not all is lost, because eventually the other one showed up, so we ended up with two. We have the blue in here, the aqua with the brown interior, and we also have a green one with white interior. Now, after a little research, I've discovered that the brown one is the earlier of the two versions. You may notice that neither of these castings really need much work at all, but that's not going to stop us from making a video. Mainly, the green one really only needs wheels. And any normal person with a little bit of common sense probably would have just added those wheels. But that's not what we do here. The Hot Heap was actually based off the original T Roadster, and it was available in a variety of colors, like most Redlines, and there were a few slight variations. The casting was produced in Hong Kong and the US between 1968 and 1971. The US version actually has 4 different pipe variations, side pipes coming out the side, such as you see here. And over the years, the pipes got larger and larger, and also ended up with a slight radius. The US version also featured the clear windshields, whereas the Hong Kong versions were the smoke or the brownish windshields. And the Hot Heap was available in what they call 4 components. There was an A through D component, but one that stands out is the B component. The B component featured straight pipes. Also, the engine was slightly pushed back. We're going to start these restorations by grinding down the post. I actually like to grind like a little concave in there, and then I can go ahead and take my drill bit and drill out the center. That way I know I'm not going to blow out the side. We take our larger bit, and then we could just simply pop the base away from the body. The interior of the Hot Heap is just clipped in place. Take a small screwdriver, you can remove the interior, and then the glass will follow. Now we're going to repeat the same exact process on the green one. Now, one of the posts we ground down is actually the motor. It sandwiches between the body and the base and holds it all together. Here's a quick look at all of our components. We have a body, windshield, engine, interior, and base for each of the castings. Now it's time to strip these castings of their paint. Typically I use citrus strip, but in this video I'm using a respirator and some aircraft remover. I wanted to speed up the process a bit. And as you can see, as I'm brushing it on, the paint is coming off. It's very effective, but keep in mind it is very toxic. We now have both of the bodies stripped of their paint. You may notice some residual paint on the interior portion. This is not by accident. I left a little on there just so I can identify each of the bodies. The aqua casting had some small imperfections in the creases of the body, so I just took a wire wheel and cleaned those up a bit. We didn't get them completely removed, but I think we got them a little better. Also, there was a few on the bottom, not that you'll ever see them, but I decided to take care of it. Now, I didn't drill both of the castings. On this particular one, I just ground it as flat as I can get it. Now I'm taking a file and flattening it out in preparation for drilling the hole.
You'd get that damn wet. And I think if his hole shot device, which wasn't worst connection by the way.
Once we have the post flattened, we'll take our center punch, punch the hole, and now we can start drilling. And now we'll repeat the process on both of the engines. These fall out as soon as you take the casting apart, so you'll need a vise of some sort to hold these. In this case, we're using a watch vise.
Just one situation. Baby,
You may have noticed the aqua casting had a bent windshield. We're going to take our heat gun, apply a little bit of heat on a flat surface, and that should straighten it right out. Almost as good as new. Once we have both of the bodies nice and clean, it's time to start painting. Of course, we're going to paint the aqua, the original aqua, but I thought I'd try something different with the other. We have this alclad paint. It is a smoke color. I thought maybe it would give me like a black spectraflame. We'll get back to that in a moment. We're going to start by painting the aqua casting. We're going to take our aqua spectraflame, put it in our airbrush, add some hardener, and mix it all together. Now it's time to start painting. And that first coat is a very light coat. And after one light coat, one medium, and heavy, this is what we end up with. Here we go with the so-called black spectraflame casting. This paint is pre-thin, so all we need to do is add it to our airbrush. And I simply follow the same steps as I would with spectraflame. One light coat, one medium coat, and one heavy or wet coat. And wow, it turned out black, just regular old black. This works well on plastics or windshields, but obviously not on metal. So we're going to strip it all off. Normally I cut off the Redline wheels in fear that popping them off will rip the bearings out. But these felt like they were going to come off without doing that, so I went ahead and used the tool to remove them, and they popped right off. Both of the bases are in fairly good shape, they just need a good cleaning. So we're going to dip them in the acid with the wheel bearings on. The acid, as long as you don't leave it in too long, will not affect those bearings. This does work very quickly, and as you can see, instant gratification. We're going to do the same thing to the engine. Once we've cleaned the acid off with some warm soapy water, we're going to take our wire brush and clean up the bases a bit more. The wire brush is just going to give it a little bit of shine and make it look new. We're going to do the same thing to both the engines. This wire brush is very mild, so if you hit it with your fingers, you're not going to cut yourself. I'm going to repaint the grills black. The acid did not take off the paint, but the wire wheel did. They could use a little sprucing up anyway. We're actually going to paint this hot pink. Not the same creamy pink that we painted the Corvette. This is actually hot pink, not an original color. Diecast Show Customs actually hit me up on Instagram and said that he had painted his pink and he thought it looked great. Also, I thought it would complement the white interior very nicely. I will put a link in the description below the video to Diecast Show Customs restoration of the Hot Heap. Be sure to check that out. He did a wonderful job. Three coats later, and we're done. Now for the new wheels. This was actually one of the delays. The online Redline guide sometimes has some mistakes. In the guide it says all medium wheels, but I noticed in the pictures the rear were large and the front were medium. So I had to get those large wheels, and unfortunately it took about a week and a half to get. We're taking our axle tool. Not only are we using it to install the new wheels, we're also using it to straighten out the axles. I don't really use this tool all that often, but it is a great tool and it's very cheap. You can straighten out the axles as well as remove and install the wheels fairly easily. And look at that. They all spin, it rolls nice and smooth. Both of our windshields need a little attention, so we're going to take some mother's polish along with a buffing wheel and just clean them up a bit. By no means new, but much better. We're in the home stretch. It's time for reassembly. We're going to start off by installing our windshield. It simply sits between the interior and the body of the car. Once you snap the interior in place, it will hold the windshield in place with no issues. I've been using epoxy to hold the reproduction rivets in place. This time I just used some of the Loctite super glue gel. And after applying it with the toothpick, I simply just pushed the reproduction rivet into place. Now with the engine, it actually holds the body to the base like a sandwich. So you're going to have to hold it with your finger, apply the glue, and insert the reproduction rivet. We're going to repeat all the same exact procedures for the pink casting. And I think I'm really digging this pink. Hope to try it again soon. Now, a long time ago, this is what we started with. It's been about 10 minutes. It's quite a bit of time. It certainly was not the worst casting we've ever had on the channel. It's actually probably one of the better ones. Technically, we could have got by with some new wheels and straightening out the windshield. But unfortunately, that wouldn't leave us much content. Maybe a 2-minute video. But here's what we have now. And it's far from perfect. But I think it looks pretty good. We've straightened out the windshield, polished it up, added some new wheels, cleaned up that base, and of course we painted it. Again, we could have gotten by without painting it. There were very minor chips. But I think the color is almost a dead-on match. Of course, I'm not the best with colors, but from looking at it in person and through the camera, it looks pretty close to me. And I kind of hold these near and dear to my heart just because they were a lot of trouble with the shipping delays of the actual castings and then the wheels. And then there's the green one. I really went back and forth with this one. I was not going to strip it. I was just going to put new wheels on it and call it a day. I figured one restoration of a Hot Heap would be enough. But I could never leave well enough alone. Even as a kid, I would get something new and immediately take it apart just to see how it worked. But in this case, I think the casting turned out excellent. I really love that hot pink. Also, if you check out around the 10-minute mark, you may notice a slight change in appearance. It's bent and has a chip now. I also noticed that the body appears to be coming away from the base. I told my grandson he could have one of them, thinking he would choose the aqua. He chose the pink, went upstairs, and played with it with his 1-year-old sister. So, go figure. I'd like to take this time to thank my top patrons, which are Corbin Toll and Mark Kidd. Again, if you see any of the tools that I use in this video, be sure to check out the Amazon links below the video in the description. All the tools can be found within those links. Not only do I have a US link, I've since added a Canada and a UK link, so be sure to check those out. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to post those below. And as always, thanks for watching.